sacred sites and karmic clearing. So when you connect into the planet and to the cosmos, everything is interconnected via the grid. And depending on the frequency that you are vibrating at, or the frequency through which you are able to kind of connect into, will then determine what aspect of the grid you can kind of sustain yourself at. So when we think about and when we kind of understand sacred sites to be, when we look at it from this aspect of energy, sacred sites are where there's an accumulation of like ley lines of light, crystallized ley lines of light, and they're basically power points. They're areas where there's a lot more energy, but it's not just kind of energy, it's actually portals and gateways into different aspects of the grid. Because a lot of these sacred sites, what makes them sacred is because of this accumulation of ley lines of light, which then connect up to different star systems and interdimensionally. So when you visit a sacred site, and many of you may well be guided to go to sacred sites, that often happens as we evolve more and become more spiritually connected. You kind of just get drawn. It's like you become magnetized to sacred sites, but that's not always possible. I know it, often can involve a train journey or a plane journey. There's a big thing involved often to go into sacred sites. But I really would recommend, if you do feel drawn, to go. But another way that you can access it is through certain channels that are able to do that, to support you to do that. And this is one of the things I do with my crystal Merkaba grid technology, is that it enables me to take people to sacred sites around the world so that they can have these experiences that will be unique to them, from accessing those portals, accessing those gateways. Now, one of the benefits of that is how, when you go to those places, whether it's energetically or whether it's physically, and then being able to access the portals there, is that we can often have karma that is connected to that grid location, whether it's karma, it could be on this planet, right? So karma that's related to lifetimes that are around living and being around that grid point at some point, or it could be karma related to more cosmic galactic lifetimes, where that grid point connects into specific star systems and the dimensions connected to it. It could be that. Or it could also be where that grid point is connected to another grid point. So sometimes in the work that I do, I may actually work with a grid line connecting different sacred sites all together. And that line is not necessarily like a straight line. It could be a holographic line. And so even though you're connecting into one grid point, it actually connects into another grid location on the planet. And then you're actually clearing karma relating to that other grid. So it's not always a linear process by any means. Now, one of the experiences, I had an experience like that when I went to the baptistry in Florence. So the baptistry in Florence in Italy is it's a beautiful, beautiful building. It's an octagonal building, and it's really dedicated to John the Baptist, and it really is all around the rebirth. There's a really, really powerful energy of the rebirth, and it's beautiful. There's angels everywhere. There's sacred geometry. There's a very, very unique energy when you step into the baptistry. Now, some people believe that it was actually built upon an old pagan site that was dedicated to the energy of Mars, which I thought was very interesting. And I had a really profound experience there where I saw this. I went very early in the morning, and that's always a really good time when you're visiting sacred sites because there's a lot less people around. And personally, because I'm very sensitive to my surroundings, hypersensitive really, I find it very difficult to tune in when there's a lot of people around me. And so I love to go to the places when they're really empty, and that often happens to be like really first thing in the morning. So I'll often get up super early to go and visit these places so that there's not that many crowds. And so I went in. There's probably only like one other person there at that time in the morning, and I had this incredible vision. Almost to the point I would have called it an apparition. And I saw this woman who I later identified, I didn't know at the time, but I later identified to be Teresa de Manetti. And she basically said to me, "You are now released from your vows of poverty." And I thought, oh, it's quite interesting, I didn't even realize I had that particular vow of poverty running through me. And what she said was that I'm actually to share this, to unlock this for others. And the reason for that is that we've now come into a place on this planet where it's not about the struggle anymore, but we've been so programmed to be in the struggle that we still got that in our hologram, in our personal hologram. And really now it's all about tapping into abundance and flow through our gifts and through what we're passionate about. And so although many of us may be aware of what we're passionate about and we have those gifts, we're still struggling to manifest through them. And that may be because of specific vows that you took in past lifetimes. And I do find there's a lot for this for people who are spiritually aware, because often you'll have had lifetimes where you will have taken vows, taken contracts religiously, and they haven't been cleared within your energetic system consciously. And so once that happened for me, everything changed. It's like everything started to unravel and shift. So I knew before I went to Florence and to Italy that I wanted to bring out a program all around rebirth. And I actually recorded this specific activation over Easter Sunday, and out of all the days in the year, that day, Easter Sunday, is the day that energetically matches the baptistry. Because the baptistry in Florence with the 8 sides are to represent the 8th day when Jesus rose from the dead, which is Easter Sunday. And so I channeled that activation on the Easter Sunday that came energetically from the baptistry to support anyone who feels they are in some sort of rebirth, where they're going through a death of some sort, a letting go, a release, very deep release, and they're birthing anew. And for some of you, like I said, this is what happened for me. It was actually around specific contracts and vows that I had taken that I believe related to that grid point in some way, connected to that grid point, that needed to be released for me to fully step into my power when it comes to my ability to manifest through my gifts. So if you want to know more and you want to connect in and work with that, if you comment Renaissance, I'll send you the details